what's a text file? What's a text file? So just to my one side there, you can see that I have what looks like pieces to a Scrabble game, the board game Scrabble, and I have a little wooden tray, and in that wooden tray I have letters, making the word letters. So you can see that I have a sequence of characters put together one after the other in order to create a word. And a text file is very much the same sort of thing. So a computer will have files, and in files you have, of course, information, and a text file is a sequence of single characters strung together in sequence, and that's it. There's other kinds of files, right? There's audio files for music, and movie files for video, and so on. Image files for graphics. But a text file is one of the simplest and oldest file formats that there is, and you can do an awful lot of coding and building on your own, on your computer, if all you know how to do is to manipulate and create text files. So it's a really powerful thing to be able to just be comfortable with working with straight, unblemished, embellished text, right? Really, really simple text files are kind of your gateway into a lot of other interesting things. So I'm going to illustrate that in a minute. But before I do, let me just say that if you aspire to be a future programmer, what you want is something that's really great, right? Because a programmer is the kind of person who takes multiple technologies and different programming languages like HTML and CSS and puts them together to create something new and to solve a problem. And in my intro, I talked a little bit about graphic designers and web designers, graphic artists and web designers. And they do important things, but largely what the web designer does is structured around creating content that is to be read and presenting content that's supposed to be read, as opposed to a web developer that's trying to create something that's interactive, something that solves a problem, right? And that's way more interesting in my humble opinion. All right, so back to text files for a second. Here I have a whiteboard in front of me, and I have some tiles. So I want to illustrate what a text file might look like. And I'm going to try to straighten this out just a little bit. I always go the wrong way. There we go. So I have here the character T, a single character, T. T for Temple U, T. H, E. There you go. I've spelled the word the. Pretty awesome, right? And then after that, I have a space. That's a space, T-H-E space. So make note of that. Even the space is a character. Even the space is a character. Even the space is a character. Q, U, I, C, K. And you know, when you're learning to type, you type the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, because that, you know, you have every letter in the 26 letter English alphabet is present in that sentence, right? I think most people know that, but just in case you didn't, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. It's a practice thing when you're learning how to type. So the space quick B. Oh, I made a mistake. Quick B. I goofed, right? Well, because I forgot to include a space. So I'm going to put the quick, and then I think I've made my point. I'll put the rest of the letters up here just as quickly as I can. But the idea here with a text file is that they're just one character at a time, strung together in sequence, and some letters are visible, some are non-printing, right? So like this makes a space. There's special characters here that go at the beginning of the file, some special characters that go at the end of the file, some special characters to put in line breaks, but that's the general idea. So that sequence of characters gets written to something called a disk or a hard disk. Now, just a couple of years ago, I would have said that this is a great example of a hard disk. You would find one of these things inside of a desktop or laptop computer. I know it looks like a rectangle or a rectangular object, but inside of here, there's actually a little disk thing that spins around and around and around. That would be a hard disk, and it still is perfectly good. This also qualifies as a hard disk. That's a USB drive. You plug this into the USB port of your computer, and it appears as a drive, right? And the technology that you carry around in your pocket, your smartphones, your tablets, they have solid state drives in them that are basically closer to one of these than they are one of these, but they all qualify as disks. So the characters get written to the disk, and the disk stores the text files, and then you're able to retrieve those when you need them. Now, I think it's worth pausing here and talking about how do those characters get written there, right? So I have here the letter T and the letter H and the letter E. And notice that this character E would be different from this character E, right? These are, I'll get that right side up. There we go. That these are, in fact, different symbols. They both represent the letter E, but of course, one is a lowercase and one is an uppercase. How do those get stored on the hard disk? I think that's good to know. So I'm going to do a little bit more setup here and talk about that in just a moment.